So today, today we look at Keir Starmer. Bizarrely, um, the Tories seem to be quite scared of Starmer because, as I said, history has a pattern of repeating itself, and you only have to go back to again 1957, where we had a confident Tory leadership saying that everything was fine when there was a massive pandemic raging through the country. It had a failure to react to it, which led to decades of Labour rule because people remembered how they reacted. Could a similar thing happen? Quite possibly. Now we have the BBC broadcast Starmer's response to one of Johnson's speeches, and the Conservatives have flipped out about it. It's the leader of the opposition voicing a response to Boris Johnson's initial speech. That is newsworthy, and it was played on the BBC News, so that is newsworthy. But then that's the Tories for you. You know, it's one thing for someone else, but something else for everyone else. Anyway, this comes from the London School of Economic, and again, like many people, I'm interested to see what happens when Starmer starts to put forward his proposals, because that's when we're going to see what type of leader Starmer really is. And I hope that he is going to be certainly more progressive. I don't think he's going to be as progressive as Corbyn. I know that's going to upset a lot of people, but sometimes, in terms of electability, sometimes you have to make compromises to get the leader you want to make those small steps forward. Remember, sometimes taking one step forward can lead to massive strides later on. So, this comes again, London School of Economic, and it's Starmer is setting an ideological trap for the Conservatives. So, speaking, Keir Starmer has appeared to have made a dramatic U-turn yesterday after he rejected calls for a Brexit transition period to be extended. Speaking on LBC, the Labour leader said that he would rather the negotiations were completed as quickly as possible. In the comments that will horrify many people who are rightly concerned by the double-dip impact of an ultimate untimely exit from the EU. As long-term opponent of a destructive Brexit, it seemed to be a persuasive move from Starmer until the logic became clear. Keir Starmer is well aware that the December deadline will be, as the Deputy Irish Prime Minister said last week, virtually impossible to meet. COVID-19, he said, has made what is already very difficult timeline to get an agreement virtually impossible, he said. Given the added complications of COVID-19, it surely makes sense to seek a bit more time to navigate our way through these very difficult waters in the months ahead so that we can get a good outcome for the UK and the EU. But that's not what the Conservative Party promised. Indeed, the crux of their election campaign was predicated on 3 words, and if they are seen to unable to deliver even then their turbulent administration will be deemed worthless in the eyes of the public. All Labour needs to do is hold them to it. That's why Starmer's preceding comments on LBC were most enlightening. The government says it's going to get negotiations and a deal done by the end of the year, he said. I've always thought that's a tight and pretty unlikely, but we're going to hold them to that and see how they get on. They said they're going to get to it, but I don't think it's practical, and we're a long way from December, so we'll see how they get on. The government has said that we can see it done within 12 months, so let's see. The Conservatives have already been exposed for their ineptitude over the handling of the coronavirus crisis. If they are exposed again on their general election pledge, it will be curtains for them. It's the perfect ideological trap. And I have to say, that's actually a good idea. As much as I am opposed to um, to seeing this done, even because there's generally two outcomes. We know that it's very unlikely this is going to happen. There are no way, shape, or form going to get any deal done, especially during the crisis, and even after this crisis. Let's say end of this month, the coronavirus just goes away. The likelihood of them actually getting a deal by December is still pretty slim. So even then, the chances are they're just not going to be able to do it. So setting a trap like that, saying, okay, you said December, well, let's see what you have by December then. That will hammer the Conservatives and people who had faith in that you can, quote, get Brexit done. Now, here's the thing. Let's say it comes to the end of December and they just say, oh, well, that's it, we're going to leave. Ideological, that trap springs again because the Conservatives once again said we will get a deal and we will get it done by December. They've failed to do that. The other thing is this will cause a potentially double dip recession, which will be absolutely catastrophic for the UK, and that will be on the Conservatives. Now, it will mean that Labour will have to pick up the pieces, and that will be incredibly hard for any government to actually be able to do. Even if by some miracle, let's say the Conservatives manage to get in power again, it will be very, very difficult to actually do and achieve. So here we are again in an impending timeline situation with a ticking clock on Brexit ticking down, and Stahma, I generally have to congratulate him on this. Those comments set the Conservatives up for a massive trap. Massive trap. And even if you are anti-Brexit like me, you've got to admire that's a pretty good trap to put the Conservatives in.